The Tuesday I'm talking about started like every other one. Coffee going cold on the counter. Madison's backpack half-zipped by the front door. Her little rain boots, the yellow ones with the frogs on them, sitting crooked on the mat like she'd kicked them off mid-run. She was 8. She still hummed while she ate cereal. Still believed in things. I was 20 minutes late leaving for work, so I asked my dad to drop her at school. He lived 3 blocks over. Retired. Nothing but time. He said sure the way he always said sure, flat, unbothered, like doing you a favor was something he was tolerating. I kissed Madison's forehead. She smelled like strawberry shampoo and sleep. Love you, Bug. Love you, Daddy. That was 7:42 a.m. By 8:15, I was in a meeting I couldn't leave. By 9:04, the school was calling. Madison hadn't arrived. I stepped out, phone already warm against my ear, and the secretary's voice was careful. The kind of careful people use when they don't want to scare you. But I was already scared, because when I called my dad, he picked up on the second ring, completely calm. Oh, she'll be fine, he said. I made him repeat himself. Twice. He said it the same way both times. No tremor, no apology, no recognition that anything was wrong. He'd dropped Madison on Route 9, just past mile marker 7, because she'd talked back in the car. Said she didn't want to go to school. Said she wanted her mom. Her mom has been gone 3 years. Cancer. Madison still reaches for her sometimes in her sleep. My dad called leaving an 8-year-old girl alone on a rural highway, 18 miles from town, no sidewalk, no houses, just tree line and asphalt, a lesson. He called it a favor. I was already moving before the call ended. Grabbed my keys off the conference table. Didn't explain to anyone. Just walked, then ran. Route 9 is the kind of road that feels forgotten. Logging trucks use it. They cross it at bad angles. There are no streetlights. No shoulders wide enough for comfort. Just double yellow lines going nowhere fast. I drove 82 miles an hour with my hazards on. When I saw her, she was sitting on a guardrail, hugging her backpack to her chest, watching every car pass with these enormous, wet eyes. She wasn't crying anymore. That was the part that broke me. She'd already used up all her tears. I pulled over so hard the gravel sprayed. She didn't run to me. That's what I keep coming back to. She was 8 years old and she didn't run. She walked. Carefully. Like she'd learned in those 4 to 7 minutes alone on that road that the world wasn't a safe place to move fast in anymore. I got out and went to her instead. I picked her up and she wrapped her legs around my waist the way she used to when she was 3. Her backpack was still on. I held her over that guardrail with trucks blowing past and I just stayed there, breathing, counting her breaths against my shoulder. She smelled like exhaust and cold air now. The strawberry shampoo was still underneath it. Barely. On the drive back, she was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Grandpa said Mommy would have been ashamed of me." I didn't respond. I couldn't. My jaw was doing something I didn't have control over and I needed both hands on the wheel. Is that true, Daddy? I looked at her in the rearview mirror. Yellow frog boots. Cereal-stained sleeve. Eyes that trusted me completely despite every reason not to trust anyone today. No, I said. That is the furthest thing from true. But inside, something had already been decided. I dropped Madison at my neighbor Carol's house. Carol was 63, retired schoolteacher, kept butterscotch candies in a bowl by the door. Madison trusted her. That mattered more than anything right now. I told Madison I had to handle something. She looked at me with those eyes again and said okay in a voice that was trying very hard to sound like she believed me. I drove to my dad's house. My brother Derek's truck was already in the driveway. Of course it was. Those two moved like a unit, always had. Derek was 3 years older than me and had spent his whole life auditioning for my father's approval. He'd never quite gotten it. That made him dangerous in rooms like this. I walked in without knocking. They were at the kitchen table. Coffee. A football game on low. The whole scene was aggressively normal, like nothing had happened, like a little girl hadn't sat alone on a highway counting cars and wondering what she'd done wrong. My dad looked up. Not guilty. Not worried. You need to calm down, he said. Before I'd spoken a single word, Derek leaned back in his chair and crossed his arms. She needs discipline, Caleb. You're raising her too soft. We were just talking about it. I stood there in that kitchen and felt something go very, very quiet inside me. I didn't yell. That's the part neither of them expected. Derek had his chin lifted, ready for a fight. My dad had that familiar look, the one he'd worn my entire childhood. where he was already bored by whatever I was about to say. So I didn't give them what they were prepared for. I pulled out a chair, sat down slowly, folded my hands on the table like we were about to discuss something ordinary. A bill. A schedule. The weather. Dad, I said. Do you understand that what you did is a felony? The word landed differently than anger would have. Anger they knew how to absorb. This made my father's coffee cup stop halfway to his mouth. She's family, he said. That's not child abandonment, I said quietly. She's 8. She's a minor. That road has no shoulder. It doesn't matter that you're her grandfather. Derek shifted in his chair. First crack. You're not actually going to. I already called Carol, I said. Madison's safe. She's eating butterscotch candy and watching cartoons. And while she was doing that, I made 3 phone calls. I stood up, pushed the chair back in neatly. I stayed quiet my whole life at this table, I said. That ends today. I walked out before either of them could find their voice. The first call was to Detective Ray Okafor. We'd gone to high school together. He was the kind of man who never forgot a wrong done to someone smaller. I told him everything, mile marker 7, the timestamp, Madison's age, the road conditions. He didn't say, "Are you sure?" He just said, "Send me what you have." I had plenty. My phone had pinged a location share when I was speeding down Route 9. The school had logged the missed arrival. The secretary had noted the time. Small details, but details stack. The second call was to my lawyer. Not a big firm. Just Marcus Webb, a quiet man who worked out of a converted house on Delaney Street and never lost a custody-adjacent case in 11 years. I told him about my dad. About Derek's comments at the table. About the pattern, because this wasn't the first time my father had decided he knew better than everyone else how children should suffer. Marcus said 4 words. Document everything. Call me tomorrow. The third call was the one that would hurt most. I called my Aunt Ruth, my dad's older sister. The family anchor. The woman whose opinion my father had quietly measured himself against for 60 years without ever admitting it. I told her exactly what happened. No emotion. Just facts. She was silent for a long time. Then she said, "I'll handle the family side." Clapperboard Part 7 of 8. Collapse narrated by Caleb. It took less than 1 hour. Derek called first. His voice had lost all that leaned-back confidence from the kitchen. He sounded like a man watching the floor disappear beneath him one plank at a time. "Caleb, come on. You're really doing this?" Over one incident. One incident. Like it was a spilled drink. Like it was a misunderstanding at Thanksgiving. "Don't call me again tonight," I said. And hung up. My dad didn't call. He texted. A single line. "You're destroying this family." I read it once. Put the phone face down on Carol's kitchen counter. What came next wasn't dramatic. That's the thing about real consequences, they don't arrive with music. Detective Okafor filed a report by evening. Marcus Webb had already begun pulling property records, because my father's house, the one Derek had co-signed on 3 years ago during a refinancing, had some irregularities worth examining. Things Marcus had quietly flagged before but never had reason to push. Now he had reason. Aunt Ruth called a family meeting for Sunday. Without inviting my dad. And the business Derek ran, the small landscaping company that relied almost entirely on neighborhood referrals, started losing callbacks. Because Carol talked to her neighbors. Because Carol had seen Madison's face when I dropped her off. Carol was quiet too. Until she wasn't. That night I gave Madison a bath, made her grilled cheese, the kind with the crusts cut off, and sat beside her bed until she fell asleep. She asked me once, right at the edge of sleep, if Grandpa was going to say sorry. I brushed the hair off her forehead. "Some people don't know how," I said softly. "But you're never going to be on that road again. I promise you that." She nodded like she understood more than 8 years should allow. Then she was gone, breathing slow and even, one hand curled under her cheek. I sat in the dark for a long time. My dad lost more than he calculated that Tuesday. The report went on record. The refinancing irregularity cost Derek $12,000 to untangle. Aunt Ruth's Sunday meeting restructured every family gathering going forward. My father was no longer the gravitational center he'd spent decades assuming he was. He never apologized. I stopped waiting. What I kept instead was simpler. Every morning now, Madison's yellow frog boots sit by the door, still crooked, still kicked off mid-run. She still hums while she eats cereal. She still believes in things. I made sure of that. Some men burn things down when they are pushed too far. I just made 3 phone calls and told the truth to the right people. Turns out, that was enough.